Well, good morning. I just made it down here to this truck stop from the well last night. Spent a couple hours there on the staging pad, getting some sleep. But drivers always ask me, why aren't there any loads? Why aren't there any loads? How come it's so slow? Well, here's the thing. There's about 450 wells out here in West Texas. They all need sand. Energy companies contract with service providers. That's what we are. We provide transportation of their product to their well. Their number one concern is safety on the well. There's a lot of death that happens out here. Between 2008 and 2017, there was over 1,500 deaths in the oil fields. It's a lot. Energy companies are huge corporations. They have rules and they have guidelines. First and foremost is safety. Truck drivers, as you know, are tracked by the government as far as how safe you are, how many violations you've had, accidents, tickets. They're recorded in points and tracked. Transportation companies are no different. So when an energy company looks for service providers to provide them service, they look at that company's safety record to see how much of a risk they're going to be to the energy company's operation. How big a risk are you? Are you going to cause an accident or a death? Are you going to damage our equipment? How many times have you done that? How many times have you torn parts off silos because your drivers didn't disconnect their hoses? How many times have you backed into our silos? How many times have you been in violation of not wearing all your PPE gear? How many of your drivers are speeding on the well sites? They keep track of all that stuff. They don't want you there if you're going to be a hazard to their operation. And that's where the drivers come in. The drivers are the ones that accumulate those points for our company. Now, it drives me insane when I see one of our drivers doing things that they shouldn't be doing. Or I read the messages on the Qualcomm and I'm like, oh man, these guys are out here hurting my livelihood. What I do affects you. What you do affects me. What the other guy does affects both of us. Affects our ability to provide an income for our families. Now, if you think what you do doesn't affect me, you're wrong. You're wrong. What you do absolutely affects me. It affects all of us. Just because you're a solo driver doesn't mean you're on your own. We're all part of the same team. And our team gets evaluated as a team. And that, in turn, affects our ability as a company to be contracted to provide service for the energy companies. Now, let's say you need a new roof on your house. You look at all the roofing companies in your area and you're like, I'll pick that one. They've been in business a little while. I'll pick those guys. They show up to your house to re-roof it. And every day, one of the roofers falls off the house. He doesn't get hurt, he just bounces back up. But you're thinking, man, what the... Every day, one of those roofers fall off your house. You're like, oh man, As soon as they're done with this job, they're done. That's exactly what happens out here. As soon as we're done with this well, you guys are done. You're not doing any more work for us. We got more work. We got work for years. But you guys aren't doing it. Word gets around out here. This is the oil patch, they call it, right? These energy companies, they all know each other. You talk to anybody out here that's been in this business, worked for these energy companies, either they're in offices or out in the field, they all know each other. They all talk to each other. They all know who is safe, who is not, who's trouble, and who's not. Now, if we had 100% safety record, we never tore up anything on the well, we never had any accidents, we would be the only company out here. We would have thousands of trucks out here, and the energy companies would contract us to bring them all their sand. All their sand. Nobody else would have work out here. If we were the gold standard. But we're not. And well, neither is anybody else. That's why there's always 2 or 3 different companies on a well delivering sand. But word gets around. Our record speaks for itself. That's what they look at. That's the very first thing they look at. How safe are we? How much of a risk are we to their operation? If we're too big a risk, they won't deal with us at all. If we were zero risk, they would contract. They'd be like, you guys are the guys. You guys cause us no problems, no worries. You're no risk to our operation. But we are. Just look at our safety record. Talk to, safety. They can tell you horror stories. And it does. It's the drivers that do that. It's not dispatch. It's not safety. It's not anybody at the company. It's us. We're the drivers. We're the ones that cause our own demise. So if you're wondering why sometimes it's slow out here, why aren't we working all these wells? There's hundreds of them. There's, thousands of sand trucks. But there's hundreds of wells. And the reason we're not working them is because we're not deemed safe enough to be on their job site. That's the sad truth. So if you're coming to Stevens, man, you got to remember, what you do affects my livelihood, my ability to provide for my family. What I do does the same for you. And what the guy next to you does is the same for both of us. And if you think that's some kind of joke, it's not. You have to think more about everybody else than you do about yourself. I mean, don't be selfish. Just because you don't care doesn't mean it doesn't affect me. And I care. And it pisses me off. I get upset over that stuff, man. It just drives me insane. Why do you do that? Don't do that. I'm just saying, man. It's not all about you. It's about all of us. We're all in the same boat. If you're out here with Stevens, we're all in the same boat. So what you do affects me, man. And so don't do stupid stuff. And what I do affects you. I try not to do stupid stuff. I really do. So yeah, man, there's a lot of work out here. There's tons of it. We could have more of it if we were better at it. So we just need to get better at it, and we'll have more work and we'll be more successful. But if we keep causing accidents at these well sites, man, word gets around. These companies are not going to keep hiring us to bring them sand because we're too much of a risk. We're too much of a danger to their job site, their employees. They're not going to have it, period. they will find somebody else, and there's plenty of other companies out here that will provide them service. So I'm just saying, man, it's not all about you, it's about all of us. All right, well, I got a lot of other videos, man, so check them out. It's just, you know, just some information from actually being out here. All right, well, be safe.